other day. Tone, we have a lot of conversations tonight.
Stop fucking around.
We got a lot of stuff going on. I think we're gonna get Cuddles in here for the Gen V discussion.
Yeah, I think we gotta talk about that Gen V.
I think we're gonna talk a little about Gen V, but first of all, we're gonna hop into something that we wanted to talk about last week. We weren't able to get into it because we just had way too many good conversations going on.
It's true.
With Rohit, but tonight we're gonna talk just briefly about the first 2 episodes of Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Loki season 2 is out now. Episode 3 drops tomorrow. The first 2 episodes have come out. I know there was a couple reviews out there, IGN specifically, that gave it kind of a low score, but I still think it's somewhere in the 70s or 60s or something like that. Like, it's still got a healthy Rotten Tomatoes score for Loki. No, I'd rather have a conversation, honestly, about Gen V. I think Gen V is a better conversation. That's 5 episodes, whereas Loki, we're only 2 in. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about where this season's going yet. With just 2 episodes, but I think the Gen V conversation is going to be pretty good. But Tone, I'll hop in you right now, man. The first 2 episodes of Loki, the first one, I don't want to say it was confusing, but they were throwing a lot at you here and there. And when the episode ended, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of curious to what the overarching storyline is. Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
I was really waiting to see more of that, but I thought episode 2 was much better. Still got a lot of questions about where we're going and what the overarching plot line is. Mm-hmm. But I did like this episode better in terms of its pacing, in terms of its writing. There was some good humor. There was some great chemistry. I love Brad. Is it Brad? Is that the character that they take hostage?
Yeah, he actually really ended up being.
I thought their scenes were great.
I thought, he ended up being really entertaining.
Yeah, he was I actually felt like he did very well because obviously the show, there's a lot of chemistry between Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston as Loki and Mobius. I think they're both really, really good together. Many of their scenes were really, really good, but I love Brad's character and how integral he was to the story in terms of not just the story, but a lot of the scenes. There was a lot of chemistry there. I was like, man, I really liked that trio that was going on in a lot of their scenes.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed so far what I've seen. I'll get to that in a minute, Cuddles, because I definitely can see that's a very fair point. Because I kind of agree as well too on that. The first episode, I can also see what you mean, where it's kind of confusing. Like, he almost, like, somebody had said we should probably watch Loki season 1 before.
I really felt like I
was like, no, you don't, because I mean, this is what I originally thought. Like, you watch Loki, it brings you into Spider-Man, brings you into Doc Strange, brings you into Quantumania. It's a domino effect. It pushed the dominoes, but like, you're so far down the dominoes, like, does it really matter who pushed it?
I guess the reason I felt like that is because, seriously, when did season 1 come out? How long has it been?
It's got to be almost 2 years now.
I'm at that point where I'm at the age where I forget shit.
Yeah,
I legitimately forgot a ton of, other than the big stuff with Kang.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff really, and there's so much in the middle of that season where I was just like, fuck, I forgot everything.
And that's fair. And that's why I say, like, even the recap might have been a little bit, I almost wonder if it could have been bigger, I suppose. For me, that wasn't really an issue for me, truth be told.
June 2021.
But at the same time, like, I certainly can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like basically what it did, it takes place literally right after the last season. I think that's part of the problem, because you have been gone so long and it's following that train of thought instead of everything that's happened in the middle. It's basically like having, like, at this point, it should be the bread on the other bread on the end of the sandwich and you're ready to take a bite. It's almost like it's just 2 pieces of bread, there's no meat, right? That's kind of how it ends up, I think, is as far as the analogy for that for me. But like, the first episode, definitely, like, with the issue going on with Loki, it felt like we were trying to reconcile the issue that the first season did, which I kind of like that. Like, we're trying to figure out, like, okay, we fucked up, some shit got fucked up, we fucked up some shit, fix it. So that was fine for me, the first one. We had a great character introduced. I can never pronounce his name right. I apologize, but he will always be Short Round or Mouth.
Kehu Kwan,
yeah.
His name is? Yeah. He's
ironically and I know why they picked him, because he was in a multiversal movie that was massive.
And he's hot right now.
And yeah, why wouldn't you? He's entertaining as fuck, right? So
I love him.
And he's going to be a pretty integral character. And if anything, he's definitely a lot like what was his name in Goonies? I said Mouth, but that's
Short Round.
No, in Goonies, he was the tech guy. He was the
Data.
It was Data. Yeah, it was Data. I wanted to say that, but I'm like, am I thinking Star Trek? But yeah, he was Data, and like, he kind of fits this role because he's doing gadgets and fucking around shit. Like, I thought it was great. So but we kind of get some things. We're trying to figure out what's going on with Miss Minutes, Reva Renslayer, which the Reva Renslayer thing, and I think that's part of the problem is unless you know who she is, you don't realize why her doing what she's doing, because that was also the end of season 1.
Right.
That's where it's going. I think is they're angling to what she's up to, because she's definitely up to.
Because her and Miss Minutes are apparently they're in cahoots.
They're in cahoots, and Reva Renslayer bowed the knee pretty heavily to Kang in all forms of media. So that's kind of where we're at now. The second episode, I actually really liked the second episode because
I thought it was really good.
They were jumping trying to find the Run Rogue X5 or whatever, Brad.
I did not know, like, I don't know if that's what Cuddles was talking about when he said, like, it felt like they skipped an episode. Because at the end of the first episode, they're at the TVA and all the troops are running through the doors, and the next thing you know, and they're in 1979. I was like, when the fuck did we go here?
They're popping around, so they're trying to find him because he went rogue or whatever he's doing. They're trying to figure out exactly what is going on, because things are getting snipped. They've got to manage the actual timeline physically at the TVA, which I think at the end of this show, the TVA is not going to exist, but we'll see. So I do kind of think it's 6 episodes.
Yeah, only 6 episodes.
That's part of the problem. Like if it was 8, exactly. That's a great way of saying it as well too. It wasn't cohesive,
which I feel like is a problem with this whole phase of the MCU. Nothing feels cohesive. Everything feels standalone.
It's like they want you to just remember, recall, or watch all things, and they need to do a better job of making it feel like it's connected, because you jump into the second episode and it certainly feels kind of like, okay, did I miss something? What's missing there as well too? And again, I think it's because they've got the 6 episodes. Like, shit or get out the pot with Disney Plus. Disney, like, do you want Disney Plus to do these TV shows?
Nope.
Stop doing 6 episodes at 35 minutes. Start doing 8 fucking episodes at 50 minutes. I don't know. Figure it out though, because that's what you're doing, is that you were getting hit or miss on everything, whether it's Star Wars, MCU, or whatever. Like, it needs to be more consistent, and we need to get somebody in there to say, okay, because part of the thing, and not to get off a tangent on this, like Star Wars, part of the problem there, which is great, and we saw in Ahsoka, and they do it in Mandalorian, is like every other episode has a different director.
Yeah.
And that's fun and great because you get some great stuff in there, but like, it also sometimes directors have different styles of directing. So,
and that's on the showrunner to make sure, even if you have different directors with different styles, you still got to follow a certain.
But that's part of the problem. I feel like it sometimes is that we'll say, well, man, episode 5 was great, but 6 was what the fuck, right? So somebody's got to get that shit figured out, and so I do agree with that lack of cohesiveness and whatever. However, I do think that the stuff with figuring out what's going on with Sylvie, they're on the track with her. I thought that was a neat backdrop. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised I didn't see anybody smoking in there in that restaurant, because that's what had that aesthetic. Like, oh goddamn, give me my French fry. Ooh, But I think we're getting there. You heard a lot of background stuff. The fight scene was pretty cool. The team up and everything. And now they've kind of got that place. Now we know who's kind of what's going on, but we're still trying to figure out what's going on with Reva Renslayer, and I think that'll be a bigger piece as well too. So, but again, is that resonating with everybody else because it's 6 episodes?
Are they going to be able to tell a meaningful story with 4 episodes to go?
I loved the first season. I thought it was fucking awesome. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I guess I don't know, but Ravona, thank you. Yes, Ravona.
Thank you, Crash. I knew
Crash.
you were saying it wrong, but I didn't want to say
I don't know why I'm saying Reva. I'm thinking Reva because of Star Wars, I think. I don't know.
Sure. Maybe. Saw a theory that the young kid at McDonald's who is Sylvie's friend is actually a young Mobius. Well, she called him Jack, didn't she?
I don't think anybody's name's ever the same in the main timeline, though, either, typically.
Oh, that's true.
No, that's an interesting theory. That'd be kind of cool.
That's pretty. She did spend a lot of time talking to him. I thought that was a weird scene. I was kind of like, I was trying to figure out what they were alluding to. He was pretty nice.
Oh, Jay Hill, I got some. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. But what was she? That wasn't a temp pad she had at the end, was it? When she was talking to Jack, she was like, "Is your mom coming to get you up?" And when he walked away, she had something in her hand. Was that a temp pad that she was looking at?
Man, I guess I must have missed that. I don't know.
Because when she was talking to him, she had some kind of electronic device. That
Maybe it was a toy and a Happy Meal.
What's that?
Maybe it was a Happy Meal toy.
Happy Meal toy? That's probably what it was.
There you go.
Probably was. It was. No, I got right now, it's too early to say. I think the jury's still out on this one.
Stop it, Blanco.
I definitely want some more.
Wow.
Some more depth, some more stories. So, but no, I like the characters. I love Ouroboros. Like I said, I love the new character that we have here. I still love B-15. I think she is an awesome actress. She was amazing on Lovecraft Country. I thought she was
great,
awesome there. I still think she's a great presence on the screen. So we'll see how it goes. But, right now I'm not ready to say it's a 5 like IGN. But right now, again, like a lot of MCU stuff, I'm just kind of like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, and, I think Mobius and, Loki, they definitely have great chemistry.
Oh, they absolutely do.
And we finally got a full-on good cop, bad cop thing.
Which was
and
awesome
it
with
was
Brad.
fucking awesome. So that's
that was like I said. I thought the second episode
Yeah.
was a step up from the first one, and we'll see if they can kind of continue that trend into the second half of the season.
By the end of this season, they had better recognize the full impact of what the MCU has been going on while they're fucking around too.
Yeah.
I think that will help as well too, because it will make it feel like it's part of something.
It'll give it a cohesive feeling. If they do something here that ties into
Right.
whatever's going on with the MCU movies,
Do we
kinda,
know
like, bring it all together?
if we're supposed to see Kang in this at all? Is he listed in any?
He
of that?
is. He was in the previews. It's
Oh,
not
that's right,
Kang,
that's
but
right.
he's like in the
Well,
old times doing stuff.
Right.
So I don't know
So I think that may help as well too. But
do we even know though? Is Jonathan Major still a part of this thing?
Yeah.
Like, are they moving on from whatever
they're still
happened?
moving forward with him.
Okay.
That I think that a lot of that got rectified. I don't think he was necessarily found at fault.
Oh, okay. I heard there was some bullshit on the girl's part.
So I don't know,
was
but
reading, I was like,
I do think that they like you said, they got to make it feel like it's kind of connected a little bit better as well too, which is ironic because the TVA kind of exists outside time and space. So in theory, it shouldn't a whole lot, but you're dealing with the timeline, you're dealing with time in general. It kind of has to be. So
see, I like what Jay Hill said. He goes, if they want us to watch the shows, they're going to need to put some main plot points in the show. If they do, I don't want this to feel like a separate, non-canonical storyline. And I want this all to feel a part of it. I want the movies to be the movies. I want those to be awesome experiences. But Disney Plus to me is like, I get a little extra. It's to me, Disney Plus is kind of like what Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels is to you guys.
Yeah.
Whereas I go see the movies,
yeah.
but I also want the shows with the extra context, the extra lore, and shit like that. That's what I want out of the Disney Plus stuff.
Absolutely, and that's part of the problem, I think, is like with WandaVision and then Loki. Originally, we saw them playing footsie.
I am. I started moving foot. I'm like, oh, there's a foot. Oh, that's Tone's foot.
I mean, who else is
Sorry. That's what happens when you do a show with no pants
Keep
on.
quiet down there, Rohit.
Oh my goodness.
Jesus.
Wow.
They do need to do a better job of doing that because, listen, Loki, the first time it came out, was pretty pivotal because WandaVision set up the concept of what could be moving forward.
Yes. WandaVision and Loki, I thought they were so tied into the MCU.
Right, but also, especially with Loki, very separate. Like I said, it pushed the domino, and it didn't need to be connected overly as much, threaded with everything else because it was the domino pusher. But now we're past that. We've seen all these things.
Mm-hmm.
This second season needs to feel like it's breathing a lot of the MCU as well too.
Right.
Otherwise, it's gonna feel because, listen, and we'll talk about in a minute. That's the thing about Gen V. Gen V exists in the Boys' universe. But it's not oversaturated by it, but you see it in everything, and it feels connected, but you're not concerned or worried about it and don't need to be because it's written so well.
Yep.
That's kind of what Loki's missing right now in this season. Not necessarily the first season, but in this season it needs that. So
Crashes, we're getting the TVA in Deadpool 3 before the TVA
I know you've talked about that before, and actually I watched Deadpool 1 last night. I haven't seen it in a while. I just was breezing through. I'm like, I want to watch that. God, that's such a great movie. I really think that Deadpool being part of somehow like TVA business and I think that's actually a really neat idea, but we'll see.
All right, like I said, man, season 1 was so good, and season 2 isn't bad so far, but it isn't filling the shoes. No, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. I think right now, compared to season 1, it does feel a little slower to start. It doesn't feel as, like Brittany said, as cohesive. It doesn't feel like it's a part of what's going on. I don't know where this is going. Whereas the first Loki, you had a pretty good idea. Even though, there was rumors of it, and you could see some of the ways that it was tied in because it was tied in. Where Loki disappears in Avengers, this is where he goes. And so you had that connection. You had that bridge. We don't really have that right now with the current MCU, whatever phase we're in.
And I know,
just don't have that.
I know we've talked about it with the Koi's crew, and I've also defended how Disney has told these last couple of phases because there's so much more. It's a wider scope of characters. And now that we've gotten, a year or so past that, we've had more content come out. I now agree, like, we need to, because we got so much content, it does need to be threaded better. Moon Knight, all these great shows on Disney Plus, She-Hulk, they all barely feel like they're part of the overall MCU, and it's good that they can stand alone, but if you want us to continue to remember, care, they've got to be threaded better. And again, what we're going to talk about in a second, there's somebody out there that's doing it and doing it well.
And and the thing is, I think that's where we have an opportunity with the Marvels movie coming up, because that is obviously going to be tied directly to Miss Marvel.
Does that come out? That's soon.
November 10th. So, I mean, that's coming up quick. We're going to see some. And again, there's a movie that's going to be heavily tied to the show.
But it's not even tied to Secret Invasion like it should be either. That's what we've heard.
I mean, there you go.
I mean, I don't want to even talk about that, but let's talk about that for a sec. I mean, that doesn't fit in fucking anything, and it's one of the biggest storylines, and it should have been fitting into everything.
Right. Like I said, they need to figure out what they want to do with this shit going forward.